So, while interviewing the candidates, what are the red flags that you see that you make you stop the interview process earlier?
So we usually do not process with the candidate who have tell me what to do attitude.
Okay.
If you say make sure that their work is not getting affected at any level, we help our customer start to end, like
Yes.
from the beginning
To the
to the
deployment.
deployment. Yes, somebody who can contribute, who can own the task, okay, and who not just focus on their task, individual tasks, but somebody who can focus as a whole delivery. Okay, what impact they are giving on the delivery, that is something what brings to the table.
So, as we know that Industry 4.0 is quite niche, right?
Yeah.
So, how do we make sure to get a good fit for such a niche category?
Yeah.
Hi everyone, this is Muskan this side and I work in the digital marketing team at WonderBiz. And today I have Tejasvi right here with me, who is our hiring lead. I have roped her here today to ask a few questions about the hiring process and what goes behind the scenes. So, yeah. Hi Tejasvi, how are you doing today?
Hi Muskan, I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing good as well, thank you.
Thank you for having me here.
You're most welcome, it's our pleasure.
Yeah.
So, could you give a brief introduction about you and the work that you do here?
So I bring almost 15 years of experience into IT industry, particularly into talent acquisition.
Okay.
My major focus is into lateral hiring as well as campus hiring. We focus here, okay, in not just filling the positions, but to get the delivery ready team. Somebody who can contribute, who can own the task, okay, and who not just focus on their task, individual tasks, but somebody who can focus as a whole delivery. Okay, what impact they are giving on the delivery, that is something what brings to the table. Okay, and we do not treat hiring as an HR activity. We believe in hiring as a delivery activity or delivery process, a delivery function. Okay, so we find the candidate who actually wants to grow with us in this industry 4.0 and who can help us growing along with them.
That's true. And that's a really great lens to look at.
Yes.
How is the interview process at WonderBiz different than say our competitors, and is say more focused on the delivery aspect as you mentioned?
So if you are saying from the delivery perspective, then if somebody joins the organization, can you deliver quickly to the project? If the project is getting scaled up, do you adapt to that change? And if you are adapting, how do you scale up yourself as well according to the project? So when we hire for any position and when we think from the delivery perspective, we make sure we are not hiring someone for the current situation, but we are hiring them for the future perspective. Okay, so if someone coming to the organization, whether they can face the customer, whether they can face the customer challenges, okay, the kind of pressure or the risk we are getting along with the project, so somebody can tackle those challenges, whether he has that kind of a ability to learn technologies, whether he is having that ability to take the decision, get along with the team, so how quickly you collaborate with the team. So all these aspects are very important when you are hiring for any position and when you are thinking from the delivery perspective.
Yeah, especially with the niche industries like ours, like
Yeah.
ours is Industry 4.0, so
Yeah.
it's very niche. So if this is missing, then it would be harder for the person to adapt to our
Correct.
industry.
Correct.
So as you know that Industry 4.0 is quite niche, right?
Yeah.
So how do we make sure to get a good fit for such a niche category?
Yeah, so Industry 4.0 actually demands people who can learn fast as the technology changes. Okay, so a good fit, if you are asking me, someone who is very comfortable in terms of ambiguity, somebody who is very proactive in learning, and somebody is focusing on the actual outcome.
Yes.
Okay, so that is something what we are actually looking all the time. Uh, and what we follow over here is like willingness and ability model. So we actually follow willingness ability model to find the right candidate, okay, who actually have that willingness to learn the new technology, and who also belongs or who's also having the ability to complete
Actually,
that
physically,
task.
yeah.
Okay, so our major role when you are asking me industry 4.0, so you will not find the candidates in the market who are actually available or working in the same industry all the time.
Mm.
But somebody who's very eager to learn new domain and learn new technologies, we are okay with those kind of people as well. It's not
Okay.
required all the time that the person should come from the same domain, but
Okay.
if he is willing to learn the technology and the domain, we are fine with that. So
Okay.
our major motto over here is to find the candidate who can grow, okay,
Okay.
who can learn and who can grow along with us as an organization.
That's great. So basically, a candidate who will adapt quickly and has that willingness to do that.
Yeah.
So candidates are usually into two categories, right? Either they like fixed responsibilities given to them, or they are the ones who like to go beyond their role and like discover the scope that they can have. So which do you think would work better at Wonderfest?
So, Industry 4.0 is actually not linear. Okay.
Okay.
So, if someone comes and asks us questions like, why,
Mm.
instead of how,
Yeah.
those people will only grow here. Okay.
Yes.
Somebody who comes and,
Mm.
somebody who comes and focuses only on their individual task instead of, the entire delivery of the project. So, those people will not grow, obviously.
Yes.
And the people who actually wants to grow, they will always find and want exposure, broader
Yes.
exposure, and once they get it, they will obviously grow. If these kind of employees are growing, ultimately the company is growing along with them.
So while interviewing the candidates, what are the red flags that you see that you make you stop the interview process earlier?
Okay. So we usually do not process with the candidate who have tell me what to do attitude.
Okay.
If you say that candidate is asking most of the time that give me the instruction, then I will do that task, or tell me what to do. So we don't want such kind of candidates who is waiting for others to give the instructions rather than using their own ideas and brain to do that task particularly, or take the initiative and doing that task. Somebody also who have that kind of a behavior where they try to blame others for their mistakes. So if you are doing any mistake, take the accountability of it and try to learn something out of that instead of just blaming others. No, this is not my problem, or this is happened because of somebody else. So those kind of a people, I would say, would not be a good fit for my organization. And somebody who is again most of the time it happen, like when you see the resumes, when you talk to the candidate, you get to know that they have done lot of things in their resume, they have written lot of things, but when you actually ask them, they are not able to explain what they have done. Okay, so this is clearly shows, or these are the indications which clearly shows that the candidate is actually have not done that kind of work. They have must have just copy pasted from somewhere and they have written in their resume. So we don't want such kind of candidate in our organization, or rather in the process itself. So we try to avoid such kind of people early stage in the hiring process. So our major reason when we hiring any for any position is to find the candidate who is fitting in my culture, rather than just to fill the position. This is what actually we are doing.
That's nice. So you basically look for people who have the own ownership and their own thoughts towards the project, and
Yeah.
they just don't execute what has been told.
Yes.
So initially you definitely see a candidate CV, right? And that's what you judge them on. But what do you think are certain things that you get to know about them in real life when you meet them that can become a risk, and even though in the long run, even though they may look good on paper?
Okay. It happened most of the time actually with us.
Okay.
Uh, Most of the candidate you will find they are technically very strong. Okay. But when we actually start talking to them, we'll understand lot of things about their behavior. So behavior pattern is most important for us when because that is where we are checking the candidate where they are fitting in our organization or not. Anybody can identify the candidate who are technically strong just looking at their resume and the skill set. If that is matching, that is fine. But if candidate, such kind of people, if they have a behavior problem, so somebody who is very low in terms of taking the responsibility or the accountability, if these kind of people are put under pressure, or client pressure, they are not able to perform. If they are asked to take certain challenges, they are not able to take those challenges. So those kind of people would be a bigger risk for my project. Okay, so we would not like those kind of people, right, in the company itself.
Agreed.
So we are basically looking for these qualities in the resume to avoid for the future risk from the project perspective itself, obviously.
Yes, then many candidates may have the ability but may not have the right attitude or behavior, which can cost us in the long run.
So that is the reason we don't filter just the skill set. We filter the behavior of the candidate in the interview process.
That's very important. You hire for different type of roles, different type of tech stacks. So how do you maintain that consistency in the type of people that you're bringing? Like till now you have discussed the kind of attitude a person has matters a lot, especially for our niche industry. How do you make sure to have that consistency across those roles and tech stacks?
So even though the technology changes, our evaluation process remains standard. So we have a certain predefined setup of questionnaires and the processes what we follow. So I'll just tell you what exactly we are doing here. First what we do is like a pre-coding test for any candidate. So we have a set of questionnaires based on the difficulty levels, so low, medium and high. So we give that kind of questions to the candidate based on their experience range, and we check basically how they are doing coding and all. So we first check the fundamentals and coding level of the candidate. If the candidates are able to clear that, then we take them in actual technical interviews where we give them a scenario based questions, which these scenarios would be actually related to the projects. So the kind of risk what we are facing in projects, so those scenarios will be given to the candidates and we judge them in terms of how technically strong they are. So that is the second level of evaluation process we have, followed by which we also do the core value interviews. Core value is something where, as we talk multiple times in the earlier questions about the behavior of the candidate. So how candidate behavior is actually, and whether they are able to fit in our organization culture. So that is something we check in this process. And throughout this process, if I have to talk about, then willingness and ability is a benchmark on which these candidates are getting checked at each level. So these are the certain processes what we have set for the interview process, where we evaluate the candidate and find the right fit for the organization. So that remains constant even if your technologies might change. So that doesn't actually make a much difference. Even if the technologies are different, or whatever the level of experience we are hiring, it doesn't change.
Okay, that's nice. So you definitely take the willingness and ability framework as like very, very important for getting any candidate. They need to have those two qualities.
That's the benchmark.
Yes, that's good. So I'm pretty sure that you already have a lot of requirements to deal with. But when those urgent ones come in, right? So how do you make sure to have a good hiring speed without lowering your standards?
So yes, as you said, like most of the time we end up in this situation like where customer comes in and say this requirement is very urgent and you have to deliver this very quickly. So instead of getting panic, most of the time what happens is like whenever we get or when we plan, we always have done planning for weekly basis, monthly basis and quarterly basis. So in that we always keep some buffer time. So if such situation comes as well, then we can have a buffer time where we can deliver those requirements. But still, if situation comes where the plan was not made and that buffer time was also used, or and still that requirement comes in and we do not have that much of time to deliver, so obviously what we have to do is like we have to increase the speed of hiring, rather than compromising the interview process or the evaluation process. We cannot do that, because ultimately it's going to affect my business and affect my clients. So we cannot do that. That option is always not there. So major focus what we do is like best way how we can plan the things and then we can deliver. If such situation even comes, then we have to increase the speed. That is what we can do.
I can understand. So you do keep some buffer time, but it just in case even that is not enough, you increase your speed. That's a good way to go about it. So you have hired your fair share of number of candidates here at
Hmm.
Wonderbizz, and then you have seen them grow as employees over here, right?
Hmm.
So what do you think makes them fast learners? Have you noticed any qualities in them that would make them fast learners?
Yeah, obviously the people who are growing fast, they always have that kind of a attitude that I know I want to grow fast. So that attitude is actually something proactively. You know what, they
Yes.
are taking the accountability of anything. They are
Yeah.
taking the ownership of some task which is
Yeah.
allocated to them. So those people is obviously grow faster.
Mm.
And most important factor is, I would say, whenever you take any task of to the accomplishment, during that entire process what learning you are taking. Okay, so those learning or those feedbacks can be through your subordinates, your seniors, your peers. They always try to give you certain feedback. Okay,
Yes.
what as an individual you have to do, you have to take that feedback. Okay, you have to make changes, you have to first adopt that feedback, or you should not be resistant about it. You have to first accept that feedback, you have to work on it, and that is how you will grow in any organization,
Yes.
right? So this is very important factor somebody should focus on whenever they are whenever they want to grow in any organization. Okay, so in Wonderpiece, if you talk to me, it's like it's not about growing or how much time you are spend in the organization. It is about how much growth you have done during that, and what is the impact you have made. That is something very important rather than just spending a time in the organization.
So yeah, I definitely agree, because not just a person's approach towards their work, but also their inner will to learn new things and
Yes.
try to grow.
Yes.
That definitely affects
That will
them
only help them.
and
Yeah.
and helps them to
Yes.
learn faster. So whenever an engineer joins Wonderbiz, how do you think their first year looks here, and how do they go about that? Are there any opportunities that they may not get in outside market?
Okay. So, whenever any engineer join my organization, so firstly, what they are getting here is like they get to learn a lot of new technology. Like they get exposure to cloud technologies, AI, ML. We have cutting edge technologies, so they get exposure to these technologies. That is the first point. When they start working, okay, so what we do over here is like we give them an exposure to interact directly with the customer, so that you will not get in any other industry if you talk about. So if you go in the other industries, usually when you spend at least 5 to 6 years in the organization, then you start getting the exposure, when then you start at least interacting with the customer. That doesn't happen with Wonderbase.
Okay.
What we do over here is like even my freshers, like who are 5 6 months old in the organization, they are also means once they are in the project, they start getting the
Client
interacting with
interaction.
the customer directly. So that is something where they are growing, and plus their confidence is actually boosted. Okay, so that is one thing. Plus apart from that, lot of people, a lot of engineers over here are getting recognized from the customer. So
Okay.
instead of doing any politics or any partiality, what we believe is like recognizing such talent, appreciating them timely. This is what we are doing here. Okay, this might you might not get in other industries.
Yes.
So this is something what we are doing here.
Yes, that's a huge thing, because in a lot of big companies, they don't usually give you client interaction, especially at junior level. So that is one of the very big things that they're getting. That's a lot of first-hand exposure that they're getting, and that
Yeah.
will help them grow really fast.
Yes, and even the team, whenever you are interacting with the team, so you are learning a lot. That is something Wonderbase is good at. You get a lot of exposure to the technologies. You learn a lot of things from the seniors, and from the project, from the customer. So that is something exclusively I could say that the learning is very high over here.
So, as you are our hiring lead, and our core offering here at Wonderbiz is that we are the offshore software partner for Industry 4.0 clients, right? So, why do you think a head of engineering should choose Wonderbiz as their offshore partner?
Okay, so we do not supply just manpower. We help our customer starting from finding the right talent, okay, doing their smooth onboarding process, We actually help them end to end. So in case also, if my engineers are placed at the customer end, or working for the customer, if they required any kind of a training, we help them in terms of training. If they're stuck anywhere, we help them in terms of whatever help we can do from our end. Plus, if somebody leaves the organization, maybe as immediately after joining, or maybe or 6 months after joining, we make sure that we are providing the immediate replacement of such candidate. So we do not work with our customer as a vendor, but we work with them as a partner.
That's a good lens to go through from, that we are not just there to fulfill the needs that they have provided
Yeah.
us, but we are here to make sure that we are owning that and having accountability for it, for the work that has been given to us, and like they can trust us with that
Yeah, so
fully.
we make sure that their work is not getting affected at any level. We help our customer start to end, like
Yes.
from the beginning to
To
the
the
to the
deployment.
deployment. Yes.
Being in your role, and since both talent side as well as the client side are hearing you today, how would they know that Wonderbase is the right fit for them?
So if you are a candidate, and then ask yourself one question, whether
Okay.
you really want to grow in an organization where you are getting this kind of exposure to new technologies. If your answer is yes, then please you can join Wonderbase, because here you can get real time of problems to work on, rather than just tasks which are allocated to you. And if you are a customer, then Wonderbase is a place where you can get this kind of a delivery ready team, okay, whom you can trust for today as well as for tomorrow. So from both the point of view, if you want to cover, then yes, I can say with a confidence that Wonderbase is a place you can trust fully on.
That was great. I learned a lot from you today about the back-end operations that goes on in our hiring process and how do you deal with all of that. So thank you for your time, Tejasvi, and I hope you all also got to learn something new. So if you have any questions or queries, please feel free to drop them in the comments below. And yeah, thank you for your time, Tejasvi.
Thank you, Muskan, for having me here.
You're most welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you. See you in the next time.